Hey guys, it's me Rebecca. So this will be the start of another weekly vlog, and so far today I've just done some cleaning and whatnot. I'm planning to do some more cleaning and really washing the windows in this house. And I have done some reading. I started Acceptance by Jeff Vandermeer, which is the third book in the Sovereign Reach trilogy. The first book is Annihilation. The last book I had just finished, which my thoughts will be in my June wrap up, was Authority, which is book 2. I know there's supposed to be like 2 more books out. I know one's already out, and there's another one coming out later this year or next year. I think I'm just gonna treat this trilogy as a trilogy, so yeah. But with with Acceptance, I should have done my homework before I opened my mouth. So I have this bind up of the 3 books in one. So this thing has Annihilation, which is book 1, Authority, which is book 2, and Acceptance, which is book 3. Acceptance in this book starts on page 360, and currently I'm on page 561. I don't know why I'm doubting myself, because I definitely did not this. Oh yeah, wow. Somehow I managed to read over. It's in a font. I'm on page 500. My word, I got confused by the font. And so far, I'm like, I did not open what Annihilation is about on my laptop, but it's basically about this book, about this area called Area X that's been written off by the government as like, not written off, but the public believe that it's this like environment catastrophe. I don't know, I cannot say that word, my word. And no one's allowed to go in it and whatnot. It's like, this place is quite difficult, I think, to get into. It's quite tricky, and there's been many expectations into Area X, and everyone who comes back, well, not everyone who comes back from these expeditions, but those who do, they're changed. And with the previous expedition, there's a lot of deaths. There seemed to be this form of some cancer and everyone. And with this one, this is the 12th expedition, and we follow this character named the biologist. Like, we never get to know her name, and it's like their names have been alienated from them because she's with a psychologist. The linguistic backed out the last second in the first book, but the anthropologists, like, they are by their titles, by their job descriptors, essentially. And we see how they go through Area X trying to figure out what's going on, and how some of them die and some of them start acting strange and just leaving. So yeah. And with this third book, we do kind of see the days leading up to the border falling, to everyone dying, because when the border fell in Area X, I guess, formed, no one was left. It was almost like the earth reclaimed the buildings on Area X, or what was now Area X. And Area X has this lighthouse, and we follow the perspective of the lighthouse keeper as he's dealing with the area, and how some issues, like there's a fire on another lighthouse on an island. He's also dealing with these 2 weirdos who have gotten a permit to investigate the lighthouse. One's supposed to be a scientist and another's like a seance person, and he's finding them strange. He's not really trusted of them. And we also follow the director of the Southern Reach, which is the branch of government, really focus on investigating on what's happening there, and we're following her as she's a very young girl. And we are also following her, like from her perspective, really later in life, like when she's more grown up, like we do learn like how she wasn't there when the border fell, and how she went to hide her past to ensure she was able to get a job at Southern Reach. Like she was very, I guess, invested in investigating what happened there, and how it's led to her to like to kind of be, I guess, be used like almost as a puppet by someone who, from the very first expedition, the only one who survived that expedition, who is looking for something. And we are also following the character of this person named Control, who took over the director role at Southern Reach when the director went missing. Sorry. We are also following the journals of, or read the journals of the biologists of the first novel, I should say, who went missing. And she did come back after the expedition, but she was greatly changed, and it seems like this is another version of her. And we do see where I'm at. We see an original version of her, or what was left of the original version of her. As it seems like she's been changed. I'm curious on how that occurred. And also we are also dealing with the fact like the border for some reason of Area X had grown, expanded, and we are coming to have a better understanding of what exactly Area X is, because the people on the outside, they had very limited, inconsistent data, and that is because everyone who had come back, like, they were heavily affected and weren't able to give a, I would say, proper account of their experience in Area X. So, and they weren't very, like, they didn't give the full scope, I guess, of the information they had, and sometimes people just would not come back, so there was gaps in the information, and that's what I'm quite liking. And the fact that we just don't know everything. Like, there's an idea of what might have been happening, but we just don't have the full scope of what exactly is happening, how time is working different, how there's the question of we might not be fully on Earth, but somewhere else, but it is a part of Earth. And yeah, there's still a lot of questions left to be answered, and right now I'm finding it quite interesting. So yeah, but I think that's all for now. So I'll see you when I see. So it's the next day, and I've done some work and whatnot, and I also did some more chores, which include laundry and taking out the rest of my summer stuff. So hopefully the weather is warm for the rest of summer, not below 70 below 80 degrees. So yeah, because God knows what's been going on with the weather these past few weeks. Because we're supposed to get another heat wave. Yeah, I'm not looking forward to that. Anyway, I have done some more reading, and I have finished Acceptance, and I think overall I enjoyed it, and I'm gonna give it 4 stars. I'm not sure what I want to say about the ending, but be prepared. Like, if you don't like things that are open-ended, like we don't get all of the answers, and it seems like we don't fully understand what caused Area X to occur, then maybe skip this series, because it seems like at least from what I understand, we don't really get like proper answers, because it seems like what caused Area X to occur something almost otherworldly, I would say, and we know who. Like, one of the characters is at the center, it seems like, of Area X, from this anatomy that's been investigated in the first book and is kind of always being investigated during the expedition. But yeah, and we see how with Control and the clone of the biologist who goes by Ghostbird and Grace, how they're investigating and trying to find a safe place to be, and how Ghostbird and Control go into the anatomy, and there's like this white flash light, and Control goes down there, and it seems like he's being whipped apart and not remain, but is whipped apart, like he's no longer human. And I kind of wish we saw what that meant. And we also see how Ghostbird and Grace, they're looking for the border to see if there's a way out, and I don't know, and it seems like Area X is expanding to consume, I guess, most of the world, because we don't know what's going on in the outside world. We don't get any perspective from the outside world, in least during the timeline we're in with them, because we also go back to the director, how she is still investigating what's going on with Area X from what she's gathered, how she's trying to find out how Control's mother is a part of this, and why she's so invested in it. And we do learn some elements, especially with her father, Jack, Control's grandfather, how he had like this hand in creating this thing whose initials are S and SB. I'm blank. I completely forgot what it actually means. How they were this group of people, not group, but yeah, a group of people that either the government like wanted to keep under surveillance, or there's some people who were less curious. How it was always a team of a scientist and someone who knew how to perform seances going out to that area, and how afterwards a lot of people were being questioned and investigated, and the director, or Gloria as she was known back then, now Cynthia, remember these people, a boy and a girl, and boys Henry, and the girl was something of an ass. Susan, they would always be going out there and claiming they were part of this group, and how they made it so uncomfortable, and they were never accounted for. Me to learn what happened to them, and I'm not going into that, but with Soul's timeline, we see how Henry and Susan are just becoming more and more strange, and even at one point they bring in this strange woman. They break into the lighthouse while he's asleep and looking around, and they claim they have a permit, but I doubt breaking and entering when someone's asleep in the middle of the night counts on a permit, and bringing in this strange person who we never see again. So yeah, that is weird, but if so, it's being around them that's physically affecting him, because he's getting quite sick and one of those quite strange. And on the last day before, I guess, Area X formed, he's at a local bar, and people are just acting strangely. Like, there's some guy who cannot stop playing the piano, and it seems like that he wants to but can't, and people just not behaving like they typically behave, and that was all kind of interesting. So just seeing that and seeing like the days leading up to it was interesting, and I think it does make sense. Like we don't get all of the answers because we don't fully understand like what happened, and we are also in a place where we don't have the equipment, and for some reason Central, which from what I gathered is this a level above the Southern Reach branch, they've not been communicative with the Southern Reach. Like they've sent samples to them and you don't get any answers back, so it's like they're all like walking around in the dark, and it's like they just don't know because no one will say anything. No one will think to report back to the people monitoring and investigating this area. So yeah, it's all quite strange, the lack of answers, I guess, for some people, but yeah, it's like, I don't know, overall I liked it, and I'm giving it 4 stars, and I think for the rest of the day I'm gonna do some more work, and this is definitely the last book I'm gonna be reading in June, like finishing in June, I should say, because today's June 29th. I don't imagine I'm gonna be finishing another book in like 2 days. So, yeah. So, I'm just gonna film my wrap up, get that over with, and yeah, I think that's all for now. So, it's the next day, and I've done some work and whatnot. I also went on a walk this morning, and oh my word, yep, it is gonna be another hot week, as I think I've already mentioned yesterday, that was really 90s to like 100 degrees like this week, and I was already feeling it at like 9-10 o'clock this morning. So yeah, and I've also edited my June wrap up, which I did film yesterday, and I'm about to schedule that, and yeah, and I have done some reading, and I started the Prisoner of Heaven by Carlos Ruiz Zafón, which was translated from the Spanish by Lucia Graves, and this is the 3rd book in the Cemetery of Lost Books. I don't have the dust jacket on, and it's in my room, and I'm not in my to grab it, but I have the summary of it opened on Goodreads on my laptop, and this is about Barcelona, 1957. It is Christmas, and Daniel Sampuri and his wife Bea have much to celebrate. They have a beautiful new baby boy named Julian and their close friend. Fermin Romero de Torres is about to be wed, but their joy is eclipsed when a mysterious stranger visits the Sampuri bookshop and threatens to divulge a terrible secret that has been buried for 2 decades in the city's dark past. His appearance plunges Fermin and Daniel into a dangerous adventure that will take them back to the 1940s and the dark early days of Franco's dictatorship. The terrifying events of that time launched them on a journey fraught with jealousy, suspicion, vengeance, and lies, a search for the truth that will put into peril everything they love and ultimately transform their lives. And yeah, with this, I'm on page 102, and when I'm this, I don't know, we're kind of getting a lot of backstory, especially from Fermin. Like, this starts when, oh my word, where is it? Daniel is helping out at the bookshop he and his father went together. His father's out to grab something as it is the Christmas season, and sales are low, and they're worried that they might not be able to pay the electric bill in January. And while he's out, this strange man comes in, takes a look at this cabinet where they keep special editions of books, and buys the special edition of, I think it was the Count of Monte Cristo, and he writes a message and gives it to Daniel and is like, yeah, can you give this to Furman? And when a stranger leaves, Daniel reads the note and it says, for Furman Romero de Torres, who came back from among the dead and holds the key to the future. 13. And Daniel tells Furman about it, who is quite worried, and we also see some of the worries Furman is dealing with as he is to be read in a church. It was his decision to do so, and he's unable to sign the paperwork. I think it is for it because Furman isn't his legal name. Like, he had documents forged to hide who he is, to escape from his past. And you see what happened to that actual Furman the Furman Daniel knows, he had his documents forged in 1939, and a year later Furman died in prison. I'm not sure if it's the same Furman or what, but I think this might have been explained in a prior book, and I did read the second book a year and a half ago, but I just don't remember much, unfortunately. But we see Furman's experience in this jail that held people who didn't agree with what the government thought, people who went against the government actively. It's where people who would disappear from the streets of Barcelona in 1940 during, I want to say, the Spanish Civil War would go, and they would be tortured in the streets brutally and horribly. And Furman is there, and I don't think we were told what his charges are exactly, but his cell is across from David Martin, who is an author that we followed in the previous book, who was imprisoned because he was accused of killing this couple, and one of the couple's family members had a lot of money and was able to pay a lot of witnesses to say things against Martin, which basically nailed the nail in the coffin. I don't know what this thing is. But he also made it worse by him just not being able to keep his mouth shut, and he was sentenced to life. And with David Martin, it seems like he's only trying to survive and to keep Isabella, who is Daniel's mother, safe. And not just her, but also her husband, and young Daniel safe. And it seems like he is dealing with some mental health stuff. Like, his memory is not the best, and he's also talking to himself. Like, there is a doctor who is being told by the governor of the prison to keep David alive, as the governor wants David to edit his works, make them better. Who I doubt with how, I would say, egotistical I'm finding this governor. Not, he won't think the changes David made are good at all, that they've made his work worse, but that's beside the point. And this doctor, who he doesn't have he doesn't really have the knowledge or probably the credentials to be diagnosing a patient with schizophrenia, but that's what he thinks David has. And we see how Furman is brought on to try and get secrets from his cellmate who murdered this family, this jeweler family, and took their money and won't tell anyone where the money is. And he just wants Furman to give up that secret, but also to keep him in the loop of how David is doing, and to tell him about the cemetery of lost books or forgotten books. So yeah, right now I'm just finding this whole novel just to be fine. Honestly, I just don't really even care about the whole prison thing, even if you actually go through the sea. As they are just trying to survive, and they think, oh, they'll eventually, they have all, I guess, come to the conclusion they're gonna die here, and it seems like David still has some hope, as he does tell Furman that he'll be out of that prison in 4 weeks after the governor's house. Furman, that's how long he has to collect the secrets he wants, if he wants to be released, or not released, if he wants to be treated better. So yeah, and we also see how David has tried to escape prison, and it was through a method he read about the Count of Monte Cristo. I'm curious on how that book comes into play throughout this book. And yeah, so I'm just thinking it's fine, so yeah. And I think that's all for now. So I'll see you. So it's the next day, and I've done some work and whatnot. I also did a load of laundry, and yeah, and I think after I film this clip, I will be doing some more work and some more cleaning. So that would be fun. And yeah, and I also did go outside to walk a bit before it got too hot. So thankful for that. And I have done some reading of A Prisoner of Heaven, put me on page 216, and I don't know, I'm still finding this to be fine. I don't know, I'm not particularly connected to this character. We see how he and Martin come up with this escape plan, and things don't go exactly to plan, because the person who Furman shared a cell with, who later comes back for him, 20 years later, I think it is. So Gato, he had told Furman to tell the governor of the prison where to go to collect the money, and that did not really work out for Salgato, as as the governor sent his driver to knock on the door and say the password, and then with the driver being shot in the head. So the governor got away, and Furman is able to escape from prison, and he's able to flee and whatnot. And we see how he was not on the one, but trying to hide, essentially, how he worked 100 jobs in this small town away from Barcelona, and he was alone for a long time, and then decided it was time to get back. And we see how he gets back, how when he learns how when he and Martin were planning their escape plan, Martin made him promise him to look after Isabella and young Daniel, and Furman tried to do that, and he met with the lawyer that Martin told him to go, and the lawyer told him that Isabella had died. She had a lot of symptoms, and it was written off as chlorella, which had been going around. But the lawyer thinks something else, as Isabella didn't heed to his advice, and she had learned that the governor was taking advantage of the fact Martin was a writer and using his ability to write the governor's book, and she had confronted him that night. And the governor, a man named Vals, he got her early, ordered 2 cups of tea, put something in Isabella's tea, and then put a spoon of honey in each. Yeah, it's likely that he killed her, definitely, but... And something I want to mention is this abuse of power, because it's not the first time we see it. It's when Vows, who is the governor of the prison, takes the police to where Salgado told him to go. And the police ask like if they know where Salgado's money is. They all say they didn't, and the head of the police, he's alone with them, and he sees a very particularly pretty woman, and we are told, not even told, but it's, I guess, strongly suggested that he does rape her, and I'm like, is that necessary? Like, to include that detail? Like, but I guess it is like a show of abuse of power, how those who are in certain positions can abuse that power. I'm guessing that's what I was for, because, you know, I can see, speaking of that, like, some people's issues with this, like, the way women are discussed as, like, pretty women, like, all of their curves and whatnot. I can see that, and I'm not sure. I don't know if that was just how the author, like, wrote, or his, I don't even know. But I'm guessing it's like to show like what things were like, and or the mind process, or the way of thinking, my word, for certain people. I don't know what's going on with my ears. But yeah, we see Furman is trying to survive, really, and try to live, and he is working for the for that lawyer for a bit when he creates after learning something, and yeah, and it does jump back to 1957 as Furman is recounting this tale to Daniel, and Daniel is absolutely angry and pissed, and he just wanted revenge on this Faust man, and Furman's like, there's no point, and we do learn like where Faust went after finishing up his job at as the governor of the prison, and how he went on to become this minister of culture, where he wrote a lot of books and whatnot, and we just see Daniel this absolutely he's angry, and I get it, because it wasn't for this Faust guy and his actions, and his mother would still be around. And it seems like Daniel's father knew bits of this story, and I'm not sure if it's like denial or just wanting to believe it's the way that that Isabella, the mother, had died. Was this something, I guess, common as chlorea? He doesn't want to believe that it's because of this greedy individual, and he does make Daniel promise that in the father's lifetime he won't take actions against this Vows guy, and Daniel does promise, and he does say he can tell when his father's is about to start and to die, and Daniel cannot help but keep wondering about Vows and trying to find him, and as he's trying to help Furman like get all of the documents he needs in order to marry his love, as with the fact in that special prison record, to avoid the fact that they had allowed a prisoner to escape that, or not allowed, but the fact that the prisoner escaped doesn't really look good for the prison. They had said that Furman was dead, and on record he is dead, and there's nothing they can do to take that back, otherwise there would just be a lot of problems for Furman, and they're just trying to get new records in order and make sure that really everything's in order, and make sure that records are placed in the right government offices, and Daniel, he doesn't enlist the help of this professor that goes to the bookshop a lot, who might have access to these offices they need to, and they just need like the records written and in order. So, and Daniel does ask, like, oh, if he's heard about vows and whatnot. And the professor says, no one's really seen him in a while, actually. Like, it's like he for some reason just disappeared from the face of the earth, and I have a strong suspicion I know what happened to this Vows character, because I don't think that Furman is the only one who would have loved to take revenge on him, because so Godo is out of prison, which probably should have been very clear on who this character is when we meet him, but alas. And he just gets his money, and yet he doesn't get his money. He gets the case where he thought his money was at, and the case is empty. Furman goes after him, and Salgado just collapses and dies, so something else is at play, it seems like. And I'm very curious on where that goes, and yeah. And I think that's all for now. So it's the next day, and I apologize if either you can hear my phone, which is over there, or any sound coming from another woman in this house. My father's watching something on his phone, and I don't know how loud it is. And I remember there was one time that was particularly loud, so yeah. But I'm not turning off my phone, and I'm not moving into another room because it is fucking hot. It's like 100 degrees today, and yeah. And as you saw today, this morning I did go to the beach. I just got that one clip as I just wanted to enjoy my time there, and there's just a lot of people, so yeah. But I have done some reading, and I did finish The Prisoner of Heaven by Carlos Ruiz Zafón, and I think overall I'm just gonna give it 3 stars. Like, it was fine, but it was just mainly a character's backstory. Like, I feel like we were just told the story of a character like I kind of wish we saw with Furman, like, any, like, the kind of timeline of him getting his papers in and that kind of stuff. And I kind of do wish there was like some sort of conflict or something that's a bit more intriguing, I would say, just because I was expecting some Vows or someone to come back and be like, this person is dead, these papers are fake, sort of thing. Like, I was expecting something dramatic, and I didn't get that. Like, we just saw Furman get his happily ever after, how he gets married to the love of his life, and we do see really the conflict in other regards with Daniel, and believe in B is planning to meet with her ex-fiance, and he just follow her while she's running some errands, and he just go to the hotel thinking that's where she went, and he does go to the restaurant of the hotel where the fiance said they would meet, but he decided, the former fiance decided to have the meal in his room, and Daniel just loses his shit on this guy. Like, he beats him up. Furman's kind of suspected what he was gonna do, and followed him and personated a cop to get him out of the situation before things got real bad. And we learned that with the former fiance, he works at a publishing house that is run by Vows, and Vows told him through, I think it was like secretaries, to write that letter for some strange reason. Like, I kind of wish we got to know why, and from what I'm reading in the synopsis of the 4th book, it seems like we might get to know why, so I'm quite curious, like, yeah, like, for some reason, like, Daniel has this obsession with Vows and what he did that contributed to his mother's death, and how Vows had climbed up the social chain in Spain to become an elite, like, to become someone who was always at speaking engagements, at literary prizes, and he was just always there, and who was put into a position where he was able to put people who followed him into powerful positions, and then suddenly something happened and he disappeared, and I do want to know like what that something was. And we see not for a minute, oh my word. We see Daniel kind of get some closure on what happened with his mother as he takes Furman to the cemetery of forgotten books, and the not innkeeper, but the person who watches the groundskeeper, I guess, Isaac, tells him that David Martin was able to get out of prison, and that he was with the groundskeeper for a bit, had tea and whatnot with him, and had left something with the groundskeeper, and we learned that it is the manuscript David had written about his life before, when he realized he was going mad, and how when writing supplies were taken away from him because Vows didn't like what he was writing, he was using his own blood, and he left Daniel a letter explaining things and kind of trying to get Daniel to move on with his life, because his anger is just gonna consume him essentially. And yeah, we see Daniel kind of move on with his life and be with his family, and really we do see with the conflict as well how Furman's actions did affect his fiancée, who thought Furman was getting cold feet and was afraid of marriage, and yeah, I did like that as well, I guess. So yeah, overall 3 stars. I just thought it was fine. I just wish there was more. But yeah, and I do plan to read book 4 next, but I will update you on that tomorrow. And yeah, so that's all for now. So it's the next day, and it's another hot day. I did go out to walk around 7, and oh my god, was it starting to get hot. So yeah, that was lovely. Ooh, I think it was more like 7:20, but yeah. And so far I've just done some work and whatnot, and I'm gonna just be doing some more work on my laptop. And I have done some reading, and I did start Labyrinth of the Spirits by Carlos Ruiz-Zafón, which was translated, and I don't remember if I gave the name of the translator for the previous book, but both were translated by Lucia Graves, and I'm gonna read a synopsis of this one to you, even though it is the 4th book. According to a note on the inside, they're self-contained stories. You don't have to read all 4 books in order like I did, but yeah. Anyway, this is about in 1938, during the Spanish Civil War, Alicia lost her parents at the age of 9 when the nationalists savagely bombed Barcelona. 20 years later, she carries the emotional and physical scars from that brutal era. Weary of her work as an investigator for the Spanish secret police in Madrid, she's ready to move on, but at her boss's instance, she agrees to solve one last case: the mysterious disappearance of Spain's Minister of Culture, Marcial Vows. With her partner, policeman Manuel Vargas, Alicia discovers a clue, a rare book by the author Victor Madras, hidden in Vows' office. During World War II, Vows was the director of the notorious prison in Barcelona's Montjuïc Castle, where several writers, including Matrix, were imprisoned. As Alicia and Vargas come close to finding Vows, they uncover an eerie web of kidnappings and murders tied to the corrupt Franco regime. Navigating the dark labyrinth of Barcelona. She is aided by the Sampri family as well as the unforgettable Herman, ultimately confronting the hideous missing pieces of the puzzle. And with this, I did do some reading yesterday, and yesterday I got to page 30, today I got to page 120. And with this, we hear more about Ferman's history. We see how he leaves Valencia, which to go back to, I think it was Madrid or Barcelona. And he is a stowaway on the ship when the political police come on. We meet our friend who was also in the previous novel, Fumero, who was a police policeman working with political officials. How he snips out Furman, who kind of tortures and kills a friend of Furman's who told him where he was, and Furman went back to Madrid to deliver a letter to a woman named Lucia, Alicia's mother, and how he also has to deliver her the bad news that Lucia's lover, the father of Alicia, was killed. And he's not able to do that as Lucia was taken by the police a few months prior, leaving Alicia with her grandmother and all three are in an apartment together when the bombs start to fall, and Furman runs away with Alicia and he loses her, and Alicia somehow ends up in the cemetery of forgotten books. And we just see bits of Alicia's story. Really we are told Alicia's story when her boss is telling those bits to, I guess, his boss or someone he works with. How she ended up in an orphanage until she was 15, and then was thrown out because of disciplinary behavior, and then was living on the streets until she was 17, and that's when she started working with the secret police. And so far we do see how the people, they undermine her because of the fact she is a woman. Like, they're all surprised, Alicia? Like, a woman? She's a woman? Like, because she's built this reputation for herself for doing excellent work, that I guess they can overlook the fact she's a woman. So you see that, and you also see how she's also, I guess, overlooked because of what she's. Sorry, I heard a car alarm go off. How she's kind of also overlooked because it seems like she wears in aesthetic, like it seems like she's missing her leg because she did have a fall off a building when she was running away from the bombs, and yeah, we just see how she just wanted to quit really more. We've not really gotten into that bit, but when she's recruited to figure out where Vows is, because Vows, the day after he held this masquerade to celebrate his daughter's birthday, he and his personal bodyguard, they got into a car and just left, and they've not been seen since. And we do learn why Vows hasn't made an appearance in years. Apparently there was an assassination attempt on him, and the news were told to keep it quiet, and we do learn how he was getting letters and other things, and we do see him get a letter before he disappears, and how it affects him. Something about him going to a labyrinth, which I'm quite curious about. And the police, they thought it was Salgado and that Salgado had an accomplice. So yeah, I'm wondering what their new theory is, considering Salgado is that if it is the so-called accomplice they think he had, or what. But so far I would say I am quite intrigued and am curious if somehow Alicia will remember Furman, considering he was there, like when she lost her grandmother and when she was in this bomb not tag, but yeah. And where else this will go really, so yeah. I think that's all for now. So see you when I see you. So it's the next day, and it was another hot day, but it looks like that this heat wave will be ending today or tomorrow, so thank God for that. But yeah, as you saw, I did go out today. There was a tag sale event that I went to, and I did get a couple things. First off was Girl Dinner by Olivia Blake, and I also got this picture which I already hung on. Not sorry about the glare, but it's quite dark. I'd say in real life. Of these people is walking and one is in Paris with umbrellas, and something about this picture in a way it's painted was just beautiful to me. So yeah. And after that I just did my grocery shopping, which, considering today is the 4th of July here in the US, the stores weren't that busy, which thank God for that, because I was already a bit overstimulated, I would say, because the heat was just getting to me. So yeah, and since I've gone home, I have done some more reading of The Labyrinth of the Spirits, and I'm on page 200, and so far I'm quite intrigued by this story. I'm quite, I would say, liking it. Something I do like, I guess, more is that I mentioned Alicia yesterday has wear some sort of something on her leg. I thought it was an aesthetic, but it seems like it's just a brace, because she hurt her hip quite badly when she fell, and the doctor, who was probably half asleep, they tried to put it together, but he didn't do a good job at it, and she is living in this constant pain that will flare up quite badly at times, and she knows what to look for. And I do like that, because sometimes it's, we see when people go through, when characters, I would say, go through something like what she went through, which is a fall, they seem to be fine, and yet she's dealing with pain. It's like, I don't know, my mind makes sense, like, that this is her scar from the war, even through, to most people, it's invisible. Like, it's not like a visible scar, and it isn't, because, yeah. And she just have to take medicine for it, something she's kind of reluctant to do. She kind of uses some sort of painkiller, I would say, most of the time, to kind of just push the pain down, and she does use her medication when her pain is bad. And it seems like her boss, Leandro, I believe his name is, he, of course, is aware of this, because why wouldn't he, considering her line of work? And but he's also been trying to push her to see a doctor to see if anything can be done about it, and she's very reluctant to do that. So yeah, I'm curious about that. And we do learn more about what Vals was up to and why he wanted B's former fiance to write to her. Apparently he was hoping that they would meet, and that former fiance would bring up David Martin, and B would mention, like, whether or not she ever heard of him, she's ever seen him. Like, for some reason, Vals is obsessed with the fact that David Martin might still be alive, which is something Alicia cannot really understand because according to the official police report, Martin is supposed to be dead and probably buried. There's no mention that something went wrong during the execution. And what I like about this is that Alicia and Vargas, her partner on this case, they don't have the true story. They have what is the official story, and sometimes the official story's not correct, like with Vows and his so-called execution. I don't really know if there was like someone tried to fire at him, or if he just saw someone and that looked suspicious. So yeah, there's that. But it seems like weird things have happened to Vows in the past, especially concerning his daughter, who I don't even know how to describe their relationship, because I guess to him he cares about Mercedes because she still looks at him like he's everything, and with the fact he's essentially isolated her from the outside world, she is everything to him. I mean, he is everything to her. I mean, as apparently there was a woman who came to her school a few times and would watch her from after school, and apparently one time even was able to hug her until Rouse and his security guards got there and killed the woman. Like, I am curious about who this woman is. So, yeah, and where I'm at is Vows and his bodyguard Vincent. The car they used to drive away from the mansion was found in Barcelona, and Alicia decides she's gonna go back to Barcelona or something that she doesn't exactly want to do, I think, because of her past, but she's like, yeah, no, it's time for me. And this is also supposed to be her last case with Leandro, but something tells me he's not gonna let her off the leash so easily. And yeah, we see her say her goodbyes and her get on a train leaving Madrid behind, and we see her arrive in Barcelona at midnight when Furman happens to be wandering around trying to buy his favorite snacks, which are Sergis, or the name of them. I'm not entirely sure what that is. But he's walking around with insomnia. He sits by the train station to watch it for a bit. When she walks off and they see each other, and it's like the ghosts from each other's past, and for him, this makes him really think he's, I don't know, it's like fate telling him he doesn't really have the right to have children to, I guess, prolong his bloodline. And for her, it's like, this is the past. She's not exactly ready to confront, but fate doesn't give a fuck if she's ready or not. She's gonna have to confront her past, considering the bookshop's connection to this case and everything, so I'm intrigued on that. And it seems like there is some serious threat to Vows, as we get this, his perspective of how he and Vincent were ambushed, and it seems like Vincent had his throat slashed. I'm trying to grab him out of the car, grab Vows out of the car, and they're both in this cell, and they don't exactly know, or maybe Vows has an idea of who his captor is, but we don't, so I am quite intrigued if who Vows thinks is his captor is actually his captor, but yeah, so far I'm intrigued. And since it is Saturday, that also means this is the end of this video, so if you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up, leave a comment below, tell me what you thought of the video and what you've been up to. If you want to, please subscribe to this channel, and if you want to follow me on any social media, all those links are in the down bar below. I will see you guys next time I post a video.